Hello everyone, Burb here. Let's talk about late surgers in the TAURUS Cup. Due to the shortened schedule, just like the end closer video, I have organized this a little bit differently. I think it's a bit more practical, but it may not be as comprehensive, specifically in the cards section. The cards section will be more of a deck building suggestion rather than a comprehensive overview of which skills go where. There is an overview video, and that overview video goes over mostly justifications for stats and track overview, as well as general deck building suggestions. Today we are specifically focusing on late surgers. I'm going to tell you what skills do what, which ones are effective, which ones aren't effective, etc., as well as where to find them on the cards, at least the cards that I would suggest borrowing. And then I will go over as many characters as I can. I may miss a few because of the time constraints, but I try my best, okay? So if you haven't watched the overview video, this entire CM is basically a big fight for the mid-race. The further back you go, the more of an advantage that you have in the late race due to your higher base speed coefficient. So late surgers have the second highest speed coefficient. However, you need more mid-race in order to get into the 5th position or better to hit Dober and Marzensky ultimate. And every position can do this. It's just how much do you want to gamble, and mostly where is your Oshi's natural position. So today, let's talk about late surgers. The pros and cons of late surgers, as I said, they have the second best late race speeds behind end closer. They also have a slightly worse mid game than end closers due to certain positional requirements. Outside of that, though, they are incredibly easy to build due to the number of accelerations they have available to them, as well as the ease of finding the mid-race skills on the cards themselves. There's a lot of free-to-play cards that have good late surger skills, whereas end closers have to go and get specific cards to get the specific skills that make them slightly better in the mid-race. So late surgers can hold their own, and of course they have a slightly less harsh PDM, but you still want to use Umastan and possibly other skills to combat PDM, because that just gives you high roll potential to get into the pace pack, as well as hold your position against end closers to prevent kidnapping. That's really the biggest issue with late surgers, that if an end closer gets in front of you, they generally just block you out of your standard positional zone because it's hard to fight them at that point. So Umastan goes really well in a late surger bill. You don't have Daring Strike, but you do have, like I said, other skills that can supplement. These are the recommended stats. I talked about these in the end closer video. Late surgers have the best HP ratio for HP to stamina ratio, which means that they generally can get away with less stamina. So although I say 800, 600 guts, if you do end up going lower, it is not the end of the world. You will still survive the race. You will still spurt. It's just when you have a little bit more stamina and possibly a gold recovery, not only does it help against rushed and debuffs, because you're going to see a few stamina debuff stragglers, it also helps you in your duels, as I am learning. So a lot of this one, because the length of the final straight is about duels, it basically helps you extend the duel because you won't run out of stamina. So there is a limit to that, and that limit generally, I think, is in the 800 and 900 stamina range, and your gold recovery is only going to basically help you at that point. So you could, as a late surger, get a little bit less stamina and be perfectly fine. These are my suggested stats at this point. Let's talk about your accelerations. Your primary accelerations should be your positional-based accelerations. You are fighting for 6th and 5th position, 6th for Measure Dober Alt, and 5th for Marzensky. This is the same as end closers. Let's Pump Some Iron can be used as a pseudo backup excel. I would say you would put that into the grandparent slot because Pump Iron only works in 6, and you want to be as far forward as possible, hitting that 0.4 off of the Marzensky as well as Dober ultimates. That should be your main game plan, and being a late surger, you have a little bit of a PDM advantage over the end closers if you're able to get enough mid-race. Your secondary accelerations are your traditional late surger accelerations plus No Stopping Me. No Stopping Me is sort of in the middle of being reliable and not reliable. You choose your lane slightly after the late race starts, so you have a little bit of a zone to go and try to get that. I call it a side block, but yes, it's just lane left or lane right in front of you. From the brink and on your left are 2 back half positional accelerations. The problem with these are if you are not in exactly 6th position, if you don't get a perfect proc on these or a near perfect proc, you have 0 chance. And you really, really want to be in that 5th position to hit the 0.4 anyway. So on your left is decent if it's cheap. What these are good for is if you are newer to the game and you are unable to go and build a ton of mid-race because you don't have the cards or you're not as fluent in the game, these can be good as a way to high roll some victories. You can combine this with Radiant Star and you will see your character teleport. So these work in 6th or worse. From the brink is 5th or worse. And that's where I would get them. You can also just get White Slick Surge as a supplementary backup acceleration if you don't want to purely go off of positional base accelerations. Condor's Fury and I Never Goof Up are both passing ultimates in different forms. Condor's Fury should proc a lot earlier because it is Overtake, and of course you can always get Egg Guts and Egg Power from your parents itself, and those are not position bound. That is their advantage. For gambling accelerations, usually these are too expensive. Both Gold Cities technically work, but Keep It Real usually procs a little bit early as a mid-race speed skill, and Dancing the Leaves requires 2 seconds of block side continue time, which not only is finicky on its own, but usually means it late procs a little bit as well. Corner Connoisseur probably shouldn't be taken. You could take Corner Excel for the 1 in 5. Radstar is a 1 in 6 and can supplement your stamina as well. So that is an option, although it is inefficient. And then, of course, you do not want to be passed as a backliner. It's a little bit better than end closers, but like it's 300 points. Don't get unyielding. Thunderbolt Step is just a 1 in 8 as well. So usually these are not stat efficient enough. For early race accelerations, you have the same ones that the end closers do. However, you have the addition of Fighter. Now, Fighter should proc relatively close to where Shrewd Step would proc. This is why I added this section, because everyone's talking about Shrewd Step. However, you are sort of asking to be PDM'd unless the leader is very, very good. So take these with a big risk, and you probably shouldn't prioritize these. Unless you have your mid-race completely set. They're not the most efficient. Highlander is a 1 in 3. Straightaway Excel is a 1 in 3. Groundwork is super cheap, so maybe you do Groundwork combo. Fighter is just not reliable enough. It's an is overtake condition. It's just tough to recommend all of these. For PDM breaks, the speed PDM break is your bread and butter as a backliner, and you have 2 ways of doing it. You have Umastan, but if 1.5 mil CC comes up, you might want to consider taking it. You probably should take it because it's such a cheap skill that has basically a white speed skill at worst, and then at best, it can proc in the first uphill, which happens immediately, so it works as a better Umastan, essentially, assuming you do not get PDM'd later for the additional gain. So 1.5 mil CC is quite powerful, and it can be used as an Umastan alternative if you don't mind gambling the 1 in 3. They can be used in conjunction with each other as well. For straights and corner skills, I like the corner skills for the speed carryover. A lot of people like the straights. Every straight skill can technically be a early PDM breaker, but it's unlikely. It can also be clipped at the end, and then the corners can have speed carryover. And I find that if you hit your Excel, you can see these graphs with the Excels. The time where it actually gets eaten, it's not very, very long. So your standard corner skills, your laser surger corners, your laser surger straights, they're all pretty good. You might want to consider single straightaways, because if it does end up being a PDM breaker, it does the same effectiveness with double circles or single circles, basically. So it's up to you, but both of them are good. They're 0.25. So Beeline Burst, Pro Curve, everyone knows those. So mid-race skills, the one that late surgers have over the end closers is Fast and Furious, and you can find that on the Marvy Sunday Power card. That is one of the advantages of late surgers, is you can find your mid-race speed skill without a borrow if you did do that event. So Marvy Power does give you Fast and Furious. It is back half, but it is usually pretty good, because if you're in the front half, you're hitting Mars and skill. So you can lobby gamble for killer tunes if you want to win more and really get into that Pace Chaser pack, although that is sort of an advanced strategy. Eager can be found on the, if Eager pops up, you can take it. It's a pretty good mid-race speed skill. PTO and Slipstream are both very good. Tail Held High is very good. These are always good. Always good. Yeah, I think these are always good. And Dauntless is the new skill for late surger. It's a little tough, because what Dauntless is essentially is a weaker version of Radiant Star. I'm sure it'll have some relevance after Make a New Track or Track Blazer, but generally Radiant Star is better because it has some stamina on it. and you just sort of get it, and you can start looping it into your parents. So Dauntless is just there. It's basically a weaker Radiant Star, so why would you pick it over Radiant Star? It's a little bit cheaper, I guess. For late race, come what may, in body and mind, same as everybody else. Nothing ventured, you know what you're doing if you are grabbing that skill. Of course, this is also Dauntless can be a late race skill as well. Otherwise, you do your standard inherits. I added a couple, Measure of Arden's pretty good as well. You can add Measure of Arden. You can, almost every late race ultimate in the game works in this point as long as it is a final straight late race speed bomb. The corner bombs have a little bit of trouble, your Titians, your Measure of McQueen's, although you're a late surger, so it's probably not going to proc at all. And then, of course, Narita Brine. Those three are a little bit tough. Every other late race speed ultimate in the game that's a 0.25 is generally okay to buy. The other form of late race speed you can get is your green skills. And last video I compared it to mid race skills. This one I realized, hey, I probably should compare them to late race skills. And what they are against late race skills is they're a little bit better than late race skills. They're sort of like a 0.25 inherit instead of a 0.15. So your green skills are quite powerful. If they proc like left-handed and spring runner, they're almost always a take because they're basically a 20% white late race speed skill. So if you look at all I've got, it gives you 0.35 lengths. If you look at left-handed spring runner, lone wolf, etc., it is a 0.5. So all the green skills that work in this game that are speed skills will work. They're basically better than a white skill slightly. Firm Course Menace out of the Narita Top Road card is quite powerful because it is essentially like a 20 to 30% better than a gold speed skill at this point. It's just because in this track, this final spurt, like from the late race onwards, once you hit your top speed, is so long, 2,400 meters. It is longer than pretty much any other medium track, and that is why speed just goes so far in this one. So Firm Course Menace is very good, and then of course any speed skill you think is going to proc at this point. So even outer post proficiency, if you are in the outer post, is good, but when you're gambling a 50-50, it sort of goes below the white skills because you're losing the effectiveness. The skills that are tough, unfortunately, unyielding, of course, you don't want to be passed. Rising Dragon is very interesting because you have two situations. The normal situation is that you've hit something like Nimble Navigator, No Stopping Me off somebody, you pass it immediately, and you can see Rising Dragon gets nearly completely cut out. So it's like basically a white skill at that point so it's like you wasted 150 skill points. The other situation that can happen is if you hit like Marzensky Doberalt in 5th and the end close did not get in front of you, you have quite a while until you hit that pace pack, or most likely there isn't even any pace chasers. So you're going to hopefully get to somebody who hasn't exactly hit by the end of the final corner, and then you get full value. But as you can see, if you get past the final corner, you don't pass somebody, you don't get it at all. So this is a really weird situation where it's sort of okay because there's enough line, but you don't want it to proc early and you don't want it to proc late. So I would say Rising Dragon is lower priority than getting more mid-race. Like, this is a mid-race CM. All right. Those are the skills I want to talk about. How I'm going to do the card section is I'm going to take the End Closer deck. If you haven't watched the End Closer video, I go over, I think, a pretty good guide on how to build this from scratch. But if I have access to all the cards, this is what my End Closer build would probably be. And then I'm going to modify it to be a late surger build. So when I am talking about a late surger, I don't really care about Daring Strike. What I care about is on your left. So this Mr. CB Wet card can be used. It's a very good stat stick. However, if I have access to all the cards, I could consider From the Brink, from Serious and Bully Wit, or I could just get more stat sticks, as well as a chance for Outer Post and Nimble Nav from Fine Motion. And I think that's what I would do, is swap over to Fine Motion, okay? The other thing that I don't really care about is, well, I have a lot more options for skills on a late surger for my free slot, which in this case was just Nishino Flower Power for some race bonus. So I have a couple options. I have Umastan for Agnes Digital. I could get Fast and Furious from the Marby Sunday Wit card. I could gamble with Killer Tunes. No Stopping Me is, of course, good on Bijan Wit. I could get 15 mil CC, which is from Tamamo Cross. Halloween, but again, 15 mil CC. The problem with that is that if it does decide to proc as a Umastan, it has the same value as 1.5 mil CC. You can get Beeline Burst from either Nishino or the stamina card for Brian, as well as Dauntless for the new Seeking the Pearl card. So a lot of options for your free slot. I think the one I would probably take, I may be alone in this, but I just like race bonus. Might as well get Fast and Furious on my late surger and keep the 15% race bonus that Nishino Flower has, and really just get the 60% RB threshold, a 65% in this case. I added 5% here, and just get as much stats as possible. So that is how the edits I would do. If you are in the big three zone where you have a lot of good big threes and you want to run those big threes, run the strongest cards you have with the highest race bonuses that give you decent skills. Swinging Maestro is a good skill, of course. It gives you your recovery, and then you fill it in with whatever you need. And Narita Top Road is probably your borrow, because Firm Course Menace is better than gambling on your left. Because you can get Slick Surge still. So the 0.2 acceleration on a Gamble Excel isn't worth as much as basically the near guaranteed late race speed that Narita Top Road gives you. Finally, if you're free to play, just fill it up with what you can. Borrow Narita Top Road. Its stat gen is insane. It'll help you hit your stats, and that'll be 90% of your way to going and starting to become as competitive as you possibly can. So grab as much race bonus as you can on the speed power wet cards and go from there. I know there's other decks besides 2/2/2s. I'm using this as a baseline. Edit it as you see fit. Basically, the second power card is a free slot. And then, of course, if you're guts maxing, you know what you're doing at this point. So I would say for late surges, your borrow hierarchy is Narita Top Road, Kidduss in Black, then Nice Nature, Wit. The only exception would be is if you really need race bonus, you could swap these. But honestly, 10% that you get here, I would just run one of the free-to-play 15%er cards, power cards, and then Yainu Mateki for its on and the mid-race. After that, you can get from the brink. You can see all the skills here that I talked about on the other cards. They're all good. It's just you are sacrificing something. So I think these four are just a cut above the rest at this point. So that is cards. Let's talk about characters as I grab a drink of water. So I think I got all the late surgers, but I think the strongest characters in this game for late surging, specifically one, primary Excel characters, the parents themselves, that is one of the two that is very good. Specifically, Measure of Dober is quite good because of the 0.4 acceleration. If you do hit exactly 5th place or 6th place, you can put Marzensky ult on her. You can have a late race speed ultimate as the other parent, and what's going to happen is you're going to hit 0.6 acceleration into a final straight bomb, and it's just ridiculous if she ends up hitting. So the only thing is that you have to fight for the mid-race because you don't really have a mid-race speed ultimate. You don't have really much that gives you for mid-race speed, but she comes with LSS and late surger. She comes with late surger straights. Just I put it there twice, and very good stat growth. So this character I think is quite good. If you own this character, you should probably build this character because you're going to use it as a parent on other characters as well. Measure Orion's kind of the free-to-play version of Measure Dober. The advantage she has is 20% power bonus, which is really, really nice and comfy. LPSI, unfortunately, only works from 6th place, so while this character stacks Marzensky ult, this one uses Let's Pump Some Iron as a sort of arbitrage, where you're either hitting LPSI into Marzensky, or you're hitting just Marzensky if you overshoot at all. Rising Dragon, we've gone over the troubles with that. Killer Tunes is a lobby gamble, so the skills aren't the greatest on it. You do get mid-straights. Measure Ryan is a decent free-to-play option. If you aren't going these characters, the next strongest I think are Umastan Hammers. The problem with these two is that they're very powerful end closers. Now, Gold Ship you should run an end closer because she's end closer late A, and there's no reason really to stretch her into the late surger position when she's such a strong end closer, possibly the best end closer in the game for free-to-play players. Agnes Digiton, I can see why people would build her late, but do try to build her end. Maybe build an end closer, try to get an end spark onto a good parent, and try to get it because, man, this character is powerful if she hits. If you are going to build her late surger, her late surger advantage is the late surger straightaways skill. Otherwise, she's basically the same as end closers. You have Umastan and Kit, so you don't got to search for it. You can search for other skills. You come with mid straights, late straights, and her ultimate is very good. People underestimate the lane movement speed. It helps you stop getting it. For once, it does help you get, if you have a pass target, it gets you some good speed when you are accelerating for that. Again, I'm learning about that part of the game still. After that, I think mid-race ultimates are powerful. There are plenty of them in the game. Tamamo Cross can be built as N. I would probably suggest it, but technically she does have Fast and Furious, so you do not need to run the Marvy power card for it. And she does have decent power stamina growth, so you just really have to deal with the speed. Now, White Lightning coming through is a mid-race speed skill if you are in the correct position. I think you will be in 5th, in 6th place a lot as a late surger, and that's when White Lightning coming through really shines. Now, I think she's very, very strong as an end closer too if you are able to get Daring Strike on her. Measure of Bright, you probably should run her as an end closer, but she gives you really nothing in the late surger position. Manhattan Cafe is surprisingly powerful, and I can understand building this character in the late surger because you do not have to stretch her because she is end C, I believe. But this character chasing after you is basically a better Daring Strike. It's a 6-second 0.25 with upside with debuffs as well in front of you. So if you're in 4th through 6th, which you should be if you are hitting Marzensky Ultimate, anywhere after 50%, you will hit a 6-second 0.25, which is a Daring Strike, plus 2 seconds Daring Strike. You do have Slick Surge and Kit for a backup acceleration and a ton of stamina bonus, so you really probably don't even need Stamina Sparks when you run a Speed Power Wit deck. This character, I think people underestimate her in the late surger position. OG Gold City is good because Keep It Real. I thought this was a speed ultimate. Keep It Real, if it procs late, is good. Now that I'm looking at it, is Overtake should proc early, which makes this very, very tough. So apologies for putting this in the wrong section. I thought that had a speed component for some reason. Her stat growths are tough too. You probably run the other Gold City if you're a Gold City Oshi. She does have Slipstream and On Your Left as well, so you are on your left gambling on this character as well, and you're hoping for a late proc. Machikani Fuku Kitaru is full armor. It has Bountiful Harvest, which is a mid-race speed skill if you are pressured, which you probably are pressured. It's just whether or not you're in the back half of the pack. So that will help you in the mid-race. She comes with Slick Surge and good stat growth, but not much else to help you. Air Groove Wedding, her ultimate is a bit of a lobby gamble because I think it's 5th or better. If you are, I think this one's just a pass ultimate. If you're able to do that in the mid-race, it just helps you. She has a mid-race speed skill in her kit. Put everything on her, she's good. Ramp up Corner Connoisseur if you're a gambler, and mostly the stamina and power bonuses, or the speed and power bonus is going to help you. But this is a lobby gamble character. Machikani Tannhäuser has a little bit of speed on her stamina recovery ultimate. You do not need a second. Recovery on this character. You just need to hit the stamina requirements for her, but put everything on her. She is perfectly fine. And a lot of these characters don't really give that much. Agnes Tachyon is the same way. Unfortunately, 3rd and 4th position will probably not be accessible in the mid race, but you might be able to get it in the late race if you hit. So if you're building her late surger, you put Dober alt and you hopefully pass into 4th place after you're at top speed to get a little bit more speed. And then your stamina helps with the duel, I guess. Mid corners, corner depth. This character does have medium skills, as well as this can be a dominator character. After that, I'd say the characters with NSM in their kit have a little bit of an advantage over everyone else because you don't have to run Yukina Bijin. Obviously, you do not need NSM this CM, but running NSM means you can use it as your backup Excel for a second version of 0.4. Mayana Top Gun, due to the fact I don't think NSM is the absolute be-all, end-all this time, Flashy Landing is an acceleration 0.3. I forgot it could proc on the corner. Oh, no, sorry. It procs on the straight if you challenge on the corner. So you will not get the Excel. It is a target speed on the final straight. I hope I got that right this time. Probably didn't, but stamina grows, and I don't think this is the version of my own Top Gun that you should run if you have the wedding version, in my opinion, because Bofa is also a little bit tough. The wedding version gives you speed and whip bonus. If you're going to go through the trouble of late surging, you might want to consider just going through the trouble of end closing instead for Daring Strike, because you have Swinging Maestro, and that's not really bound to late surgers. So consider running Mono Top Gun end. And sorry if I messed up Flashy Landing again. Maybe I'll get it right next time. Cheerleader Nice Nature is kind of ridiculous the more you look at it. It is a mid-pack ultimate on the final straight, which means it's a final straight bomb, as well as giving you no stopping me to give you an additional version of hitting. Take the chance can be even used as a secondary backup, but I would say grab more mid-race at that point. Long shot, late surger savvy, dominator, fighter, all sort of minor skills you can consider. But stamina, power, wit growth is ridiculous. You press the power button and you press the wit button, and then you just supplement some speed. Pretty good. Kawakami Princess, a little bit tough because Rising Dragon is there, but late surger straights and no stopping me should be good enough. Princess Must Seize victory happens a lot more than you think as long as you don't ridiculously wide swing. So if you're on anywhere close to the inner rail, there should be someone near you, and Princess Must Seize victory should give you a final straight bomb. Characters with backup Excel ultimates are pretty good. Notably, of course, the middle one is Christmas Oguri. We will talk about her. Special week, Shooting Star. If you're passing somebody, it means you've usually hit an acceleration, so you hit an additional 0.1 for free. And even if it procs late, it is still a 0.35 target speed 5-second bomb. So Shooting Star is an incredible skill that is track agnostic, that works on pretty much every single track, because you either get Excel or speed or a combination of both. In Body and Mind is very generically good late race skills. Steadfast, unfortunately, is a little bit tough because you don't really want to be passed. And Outer Swell is the same way. So you're basically eye-bamming with Shooting Star with some stamina growth and some whip growth. So the 10% whip growth will help. The stamina growth means you just lower your stamina sparks a little bit. Summer gives you a free recovery. That's really its advantage. And the combination of that plus easy build mid-race. You have Fast and Furious. It's on and tail held high, which should proc your ultimate for the stamina recovery. After that, that's basically how you build the character. You just need to supplement with some mid-race and late race, and of course all your accelerations. ECP Fantasy, her ultimate is very good. It's a 0.4, and that 0.4 should proc early because it is overtake. Should proc when you proc your Marzensky ultimate or your Dober ultimate. So if you're in position, you hit a acceleration. Let's say you're in 5th position, which is the best position for you. You hit your 0.4 from there. You should speed up pretty quickly at that point, which means you should be passing somebody who didn't hit. The game should calculate that you will pass somebody who hasn't hit almost instantly, and then you get a bonus 0.4 Excel to hit a 0.8 Excel. That is ridiculous. That is a teleport. Now, you need to supplement with some late race and some mid-race speed. One of the best things to put on El Contrapasta Fantasy is going to be Symbole Rudolph Ultimate, because you're going to pass 3 people easily on that final corner into a massive final straight bomb. So 1.5 mil CC is a gamble as well, and 15% speed helps. Christmas Oguri Cat. I don't know exactly what late surger adds, except basically relax his white version. So I think he just goes short, soft step, and corner recovery. 777S is there. I think she's stronger in the pace chaser position. I know it's tough with the less late race speed, but it's still 3.6 length, 3.2 lengths in the late surger position. So I think you just trigger with 777. The character doesn't give you much else, but obviously 3.2 lengths is pretty good. If you don't want to stretch her into end closer, and you need more speed than the pace chaser position gives you, this is not the easiest character to build in the late surger position, but it technically has more late race speed, and it doesn't require you to have the parents to get end closer up to A. Okay. Gold City Festival, dancing in the leaves, unfortunately, is a little tough because you need 2 seconds of block side continue time after the final corner happens. So the final corner is slightly late, and then you have to wait 2 seconds at that point to be even later. And at that point, you get some target speed and acceleration, and it only works on the final corner, I believe, for dancing in the leaves, which means you have a very small window after you're already choosing your lane to get block side continue time to then hit an acceleration that most likely is already late. So that's what the tough part about Gold City is. This CM is she's still able to win for sure, and she gives you 1.5 mil and late surger corners, as well as her ridiculously good stat growth at 8.814 on the 3 stats that you want. Machikani Fukugi Tauru OG. See victory in my future. I've talked about this before. Front block is not what you want to do. So you somehow have to get around the person you're front blocking with her ultimate, and she doesn't really give you that much. Meisho Doto, if you're able to get past the late surger and put everything on her, her ultimate is ridiculous because if you hit like a Nimble Navigator plus a Dober or a Marzensky ult for 0.4, you pass somebody pretty quickly and all of a sudden you're at 0.7 and then you're like instantly at max speed and you get the target speed increase. This character is pretty good if you're able to build her. The stamina guts is not really helping you as much as the speed power wit. But if like in all roles that you're able to build Meisho Doto, this is sort of what you want to do. And the further back you go with the character, the more likely you're able to pass somebody fairly quickly because you accelerate fast. I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. So after this, you have your backup Excelling on your left. And if you are a newer player, on your left is a great skill if you're not unable to build your mid race. However, like I said, in this CM, you want to fight for 5th position. So on your left is a backup acceleration if you do not hit 5th because you're hitting 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th. Okay, some characters have it in kit. Toshin Jordan in particular still has the problem that she's sort of half a pace chaser and half a late searcher. But if you're able to put everything on it, you have on your left in your kit, mid straights, and long shot. Her ultimate is very good because you should be well positioned on the final straight in the situations where you're winning because you eventually have to hit first place to win the race. Speed power growth is very good. OG Grass Wonder, again, where there's a will, there's a way. You should be passing somebody. However, passing in the back on the final straight is a little bit tough because you should be already in 5th or 4th with the Marzensky ult procking, but hypothetically, if you're in 6th and you pass into 5th, it should proc. The character has speed power growth, and that is why she's very comfy to build. You can build her Dominator, but Dominator on this track on your aces is not really what you want to be doing, in my opinion. Position Pilfer is good mid-race, of course. On your left is good. Homestretch Haste is good. Fantasy Grass Wander, just run the OG. It gives you a heal and another heal, but like the stamina requirements for this aren't horrible for it, and you're losing a lot, like even in the skills department and the speed power growth. Most of the late surgers in the game have a final straight ultimate, and those are incredible because they basically make you as fast as end closers and can let you duel with them, etc., etc., etc. And a lot of times it staves them off, surprisingly enough. I'll talk about it when Ticket comes, but if Ticket's ultimate procs, it seems to just stave off gold ships. Symboli Rudolph is probably the most recognizable one because her ultimate is going to be on a lot of characters. If you pass 3 people after you've hit your Marzensky ultimate at some point, you will hit a massive 0.45 final straight speed increase. This with the fact that she has Professor of Curvature, which means if you don't own Kidison Black and you don't want to run Kidison Black in lieu of another card, you still get Pro Curve, which is an incredible mid-race speed skill. So if you're a brand new player and you own this character and you're able to figure out how to get the speed and power, you can run NTR and you can run just free-to-play cards, and you have all the speed gen of Narita Top Road with the Firm Course Menace, and you still get Professor of Curvature for your mid-race. So very surprisingly enough, free-to-play friendly character if you own the character. Of course, this is also a Dominator debuffer. Don't grab Dominator on your aces, please. Festival Rudolph, her ultimate usually is final straight because you have to be pressured for a while after the final corner or later, and then it procs. So I think it's you have to be in the front, you have to be 4th or better. So if you're in 4th or better on the final corner, it's a lobby gamble, I guess, but most times I feel like this happens after you hit your acceleration, so it's fine. You're running this mostly for the speed, stamina, wit growth. It doesn't give anything, is the problem. Ogre Cap gives Nimble Navigator and has Corner Connoisseur and Corner Acceleration for the gamble, but again, as I said, Triumph Impulse is a good skill. And I want to amend that by saying that when I said Triumph Impulse was a good skill, what I meant to say is Triumph Impulse is a very good skill. It is a 0.45 speed bomb at 200 meters, so you're going to close out a lot of races. Aishin Flash, her ultimate is just don't get rushed and don't get late started. Easy, right? But if you, with the guaranteed 0.35, if you are in the situations where Dober ult's going to hit, you're usually pretty decent. You have IBAM to close out the race. Just throw as much mid-race on this character as possible. Valentine, Aishin Flash is basically Symboli Rudolph ultimate as well. Obviously, it can proc early, but it's not probably not going to. Flash forward is basically gold, medium straightaways. So it's good mid race, good late race, whenever it decides to proc. And then you have late surgery corners as well. This is also a Dominator character. Don't build Dominator on your aces. Satono Diamond wishes it's a right-handed track. Unfortunately, you don't get right-handed demon, but you do still get firm conditions, medium straight, straightaway depth, and recovery that you can grab if you don't really grab Umastan. The problem with Lion Weight is that if you grab Umastan in the wrong lobby gamble, it's going to push you into too far forward. So you will find that it is slightly unreliable. If you do not hit your stamina goals, you can pick it, but you may want to consider Rad Star gambling instead of Lion Weight, because if you're picking an unreliable stamina skill, you might as well pick the unreliable stamina skill that can high roll you into winning the game as well. So just take that into consideration. Obviously, Lion Weight could proc maybe half the time, and Radiant Star is like a 1 in 3 to actually give you its stamina. I find that I like the acceleration at that point. Yayano Muteki, her ultimate is a win more ultimate. You should pass somebody in the front if you are going to win the game. You will, with 300 less remaining, that's basically like a tri-pulse from a little bit better timing, but it's only a 0.35 is the problem. Power bonus is going to carry this character a lot. You can build this character Pace Chaser as well. She's perfectly fine. She comes with its on, which is very, very good. Unyielding is probably not what you want, but I mean, this character is perfectly fine if you build her and get her aptitudes up. TM Opera O New Year, same thing. You can build this character Pace Chaser. A little bit tough if you don't high roll your, if you hit 5th and you're in a full front runner lobby with 4 front runners, it's a little bit tough because you're not going to hit bark roll at that point. It's tough. This is a lobby gamble. Bark roll blessings is 4th or better. If you're able to hit 4th or better by 400 meters, it sometimes happens or sometimes doesn't. It just depends on the lobby comp and how many people hit, and that's the trouble with it in backliners. Interpost proficiency, Swinging Maestro gives you a gold recovery for some comfort. OG Opera O, this requires a close to the front in 4th or better. So you are following somebody in 4th or better, which means you are nearly in 3rd position, which means it should proc later than the final corner, and it can proc on the straight. So it's usually a final straight bomb at this point. However, you do lose Speed Star. Killer Tunes is more of a Pace Chaser skill. It's more of a lobby gamble skill. So you could consider running at pace if you really want to run Opera O. Late Surgery, you're doing this for the for like the pack manipulation because you think 6th place is going to be in the Late Surger pack and not the Pace Chaser pack. King Halo, Prideful King, is a little tough because 200 meters remaining, you're basically cinemaing it all the way through the end. You're in the back, you're in 4th or worse, trying to hit 1st place with a lot of late race speed at that point. It gives you outer post proficiency and power growth are the 2 advantages for King Halo. This is also one of her natural positions, so you do not have to stretch her at all. Vodka is the same way. It's a 3rd place close to the 3rd place or worse, close to the horse in front of you. Basically, you are doing Triumphant Pulse with extra steps. Speed, power growth really carries this character if you are looking to play her as she is your Oshi. Slick Surge in kit as well. Breath of Fresh Air probably don't grab because it's just a 2 out of 3 and you're hoping it doesn't early proc on the first straight. So instead, I would again consider just doing Rad Star gambling at that point, right? So try to hit your stamina requirements. It's a little tough on this character because you start with 79 with no growth, but the speed and power bonus should help you out in being able to hit the stamina button or the bunch of the power buttons at the same time. Winning Ticket, our ticket to win, if it decides to proc, is an incredible skill because the 6 seconds gets stretched out quite a lot, and we've seen it go and stretch with the combined with the home stretch haste, and you basically just duel a gold chip that's running as faster than you because most likely that gold chip is next to you because that's how your ultimate got triggered. You have to be in 5th or better, which means that you should be hitting Marzensky ultimate. You hit Marzensky ultimate, you challenge somebody, and then our ticket to win procs on the final straight. What that does is that 6 seconds goes and gets stretched out for most of that final straight, not all of it, and then hopefully you have All I've Got, Triumphant Pulse, Home Stretch Haste. That and then you're able to stave off the end closers behind you. And that's how you build winning ticket. The power bonus and stamina bonus is ridiculous. You want to press the power button as much as possible, grab some wit and speed sparks even if you have to, and you get every single late skill that you need. You have late surger corners, you have nimble navigator, you have fast and furious, firm conditions, and then, if you want, you can take fighter, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. Nice nature. You build her as an ace and you don't have cheer version. Cheer version is very, very nice. So if it's your Oshi, consider pulling it if you have 30k. Just a little farther, there's a third place exactly for a tri-pulse, essentially a little weaker tri-pulse. Gives power bonus. That's really what Nice Nature gives you. She's a stamina debuffer, but stamina debuffs won't really do that much, honestly. Admire Vega, please just run her as end. You're doing a disservice to the character if you run her late right now with the way, with how strong end closers are. Biwa Ayahide actually has a... you actually have a reason to build her in the late surger and the end closer position. End closer, it's probably better because of how strong Daring Strike is, and she doesn't really give you anything anyways for either position. But late surger only requires 1 spark, where end closer requires you to put 4 parents worth of sparks in order to get it there. So if you want a little bit easier, the reason to build her late surger is that Win QED is a 1st through 4th position pass, which means that if you pass immediately in the pace chaser position, what's going to happen is it's going to get completely eaten by the acceleration zone. This is final corner or later, however, so if you're in the late surger position, you hit Dober ultimate into 6th and you pass into 5th and then eventually into 4th, usually it will pass on the final straight somewhere or later on in the corner when you already are max speed. You come with OPP as well. I believe you come with OPP, but not really much else, and this character, I will say, because I've just been trying to run her, this character, the whip bonus is great, but you have to learn how to run 0% speed and 0% power bonus. And for me, that was very difficult. But this character will teach you the other half of the game, which is the half of the game that doesn't have any speed, power, or stamina bonus. Completely different methodology in Make a New Track, where you're trying to press the wit button a lot, and then you're trying to... But the thing is, if speed presents itself, you have to take it. So very interesting character. It was very fun to run after I finally got through the frustration of not being able to hit stats for the first 10 runs I did of this one. Mummy Creek, it's a speed-only ultimate on the final straight. It does technically give 0.25 as well, and she's late surger B as well. Rice Shower, Blue Rose Closer is kind of the same way as Win QED because it's front, final corner or later, so it technically can late proc. That is a reason to run her late surger. However, you do need 2 parents to do so. You do get a Highlander as well for the gamble, but not much else. This character is a little tough outside of longs, but in late surger position, you can late proc this ultimate. Anime Teo, Certain Victory is 5th or better with a pass target. Failed pass for 2 seconds, I believe. Comes with Miraculous Step, which is just a reliable mid-race recovery if you need it. Spring Runner and Kit, very, very good stat with 10% speed, 10% stamina. Tokai Teo OG has 20% speed, which is better, but doesn't really give you anything. And Sky High Teo Step will probably proc later on in the straight, which means it's fine, but you may, the positions where it's going to be clipped, you're probably not winning anyways at that point. So Tokai Teo OG can be running late if you do get the parents for it. Run Hishi Amazon End Closer. Please do not even try late searcher. There's no point. Fuji Kaseki Ballroom Ultimate usually will late proc, but doesn't really give you that much except for growth rates being good. OG Lights of Vaudeville is an incredible skill on backliners and frontliners, but backliners, it's sort of amplified, it feels like. Power bonus and whip bonus are 2 of the best spat growths in the game, and the character decides to give you absolutely nothing outside of Miles, so just try to put everything on this character. Finally, Measure Arden is late D. However, Life Dream Moments Flight on a backliner is incredible because it's a 0.45 target speed ultimate. It does burn through about 60 stamina, I believe, on this one. Left-handed and Come What May, which is again Come What May is basically Tri-Pulse. It's pretty close to Tri-Pulse. Speed and wit growth as well is insane. I probably should have pulled for this character just because of how comfy she is in speed and wit, and now that my parents are getting better, I can start running her in the backliner positions. Corner 4 characters struggle a lot due to the way the acceleration zone works. When you're in and you're hitting Marzensky ultimate, if your corner 4 character that has an easily proccing ultimate hits, it's completely eaten by the accel zone. So you want these C4 characters to late proc, but if they're late proccing, you're usually losing the game. These characters are troublesome because of that. Air Groove, unfortunately, only works on the final corner from the back, mid-pack, or back. And you have to pass somebody. So if you're not passing somebody, you're not really winning the game. If you're passing somebody, it's getting at least partially eaten. However, you get speed and power growth. If this is your Oshi, she can be played, and maybe you hit that sweet spot where you're the first late surger and you're able to hit the Pace Chaser pack before the corner ends. You come with a lot of debuffs too. Again, avoid these if you are running an ace. Narita Taishin, weirdly enough, being a BNW member, is basically Biwa's ultimate, but unfortunately it's Is Overtake, which means Is Overtake is going to proc almost immediately when you are in the 4th through 7th position, and you have to be in the 4th through 7th position. Unless you're in 3rd, I guess, then it's Pass Protect. But if you're not in 5th or 6th or better, you're probably not winning the game. Also run this character end at that point, so don't try to stretch her into late surger. Narita Bryan is troublesome too because Shadow Break requires a pass. Again, you could hit that sweet spot where you are the furthest forward backliner and you get into the Pace Chaser pack. This is a final corner or later, so if you do hit that sweet spot, you could make this a final straight bomb. It's a little bit tough and it usually procs pretty early. However, this character has 2 late race speed skills in Embody and Mind and Beeline Burst if it decides to. But the Beeline Burst is incredibly powerful. Embody and Mind is incredibly powerful. You have speed stamina bonus, which is great. Mid-Strafe Lone Wolf. This character is still decent. It's just Shadow Break doesn't work all the time. Measure McQueen has the opposite problem on late surger, not only being a late D character, but TDDC will, like 90% of the time, won't proc because you have to be 25% or better on the final corner. I don't believe this happens later. By the time you're in 25%, you're probably on the final straight at that point. It takes some time to fight the angling and scheming front runner still. So I would avoid this, maybe do this in Pace Chaser and just accept you don't really have an ultimate. Ults that don't work very well in general. Cheer Halo is a final straight ultimate with acceleration, so try to use the base if you are a King Halo Oshi player. BOI Hide Christmas in the late surger position shouldn't be 4th or better all the race. That is a massive lobby gamble. You have a botched Uma stand and all of a sudden your ultimate is dead. Super Creek does have a heal, but that heal is 2nd through 4th for the recovery. If you're going to run this character and you want to utilize that stamina, maybe you do a Pure Guts build in the Pace Chaser position. That might be your avenue. Measure McQueen, Legacy of the Strong. The 40% makes it proc on the final corner a lot of the times, which gets completely eaten. Maybe if you overstam a little bit, it works, or if you hit a good downhill, but the character doesn't really give you much either way, but I guess you could try it, but it is late D. Alcondor Pasa needs 30% stamina remaining, so it happens so I forget what it is. Right, so in the late surger position, in order to get into 1st or 2nd for Alcondor Pasa ultimate, you would think it would work, but the problem is by that point, you're most likely running out of stamina unless you are massively overstamming. Usually your stamina is getting burned through dueling at this point, so I think you have to be a little further forward in the pack to give yourself a little bit of a chance for ECP. So El Frontor Pasa probably at least gives you the speed as well as Pace Chaser, but this character isn't very strong on this derby in my opinion. Kidus in Black and Rice Shower requires top 2 or 4 for their ultimates. They don't really work. Saiyan Sky obviously requires 1st position or 1st and 2nd, so it doesn't really work, and I don't find any real reason to go from medium E to medium A on a late surger when end closer both exists, as well as these characters kind of are able to be run in the front runner position as well. Obviously, Fine Motion don't care where she at in the pack. However, there's better positions in the pack than probably the late surger position for Fine Motion ultimate, right? Haru Urara is the last character I will talk about. I will say that late gives you the greatest chance of getting turf sparks up. So if she is your pure Oshi and you do want to run Haru Urara, you can decide to bring her end closer. I believe it's only NB, but technically this does give you 1 additional slot to put more turf sparks on so that you get that turf A, okay? So it may make your life a little bit easier. Again, this character is going to be hard to build no matter what. So if you zoned out the entire time, those characters, come back now because we're going to close it out here. How do lates win? You want to control the 5th or the 6th position. You can, if you're running a bunch of lates and end closes, which you can do if you control the 5th or 6th position, is you start a cascade where your 6th position person and 5th position person, they both hit, and then whoever's in the 4th position of yours can proc it a little bit late and run alongside it, and that causes dueling, at least from my experience. You also can just go and run Nimble Navigator with it, hit your Marzensky ultimate with a ton of mid-race, hit the straggling Pace Chaser, and then you have a 0.4 as well. So there's multiple ways for lates to win. Are they stronger than end closers? No. Can they fight end closers? They certainly can. The difference is not too different. It's just we don't really have Daring Strike, and our late race speed is a little bit lower. But again, you're going to have people who aren't perfectly built as well, and you're going to have people who don't hit anyways. Again, this CM is fight for the mid-race. So the more mid-race skills you put on it that are good and are efficient, the better. There may be some late-race skills that are more efficient, but based on how many hints you get. But in general, a mid-race skill is better than a late-race skill with all things being equal. For your final checklist, 1200 speed is pretty good. I mean, the speed is going to help you on this very long final straight, or rather late race. 800 stamina, you can go a little lower on late surger if you need to. Get as much power and wit as possible. Power is super important. If you're able to increase your power above 900, that's the next thing I would do at this point on a late surger. The things that are required is you need at least either Redshift or Dober Ultimate. Both is better if you can. You can supplement with like Ryan if you're unable to get Marzensky and just do Dober Ryan traditional. But all three are good. I'd say get some mid-race before you get my Ryan Ultimate. Daring Strike. I guess I forgot to remove then. What am I doing? It's late, guys. So instead of Daring Strike, get your mid-race. So Fast and Furious is good. Grab a tail held high. Standard stuff. You're fighting Daring Strike and the end closers as much as can be possible. Umastan helps a lot. It stops a lot of the kidnap, like 90% of the kidnapping, I think, is stopped from Umastan. Late race skills, backup accelerations. If you need more PDM breakers, grab straight skills. If you want more speed carryover, grab corner skills. Then at that point, you can grab your backup accelerations. Slick Surge is not bad. If you are unable to get a bunch of mid-race, it can still give you a chance of winning when combined with stuff like Radiant Star. Radiant Star is inefficient, but it will give you high roll potential. I would not prioritize it, but it can be used if you missed your stamina recovery or if you miss your mid-race and you are unable to consistently get 6th and 5th. But 6th and 5th position are what you should be aiming for all the time. After that, more power. More power is very good on the Tokyo track, and then wit is always useful. It helps you with your downhill, your stamina, as well as your base speed in the mid-race. More stamina and guts is always useful against debuffs, but there is, of course, a point. It's around 900 to 1,000 stamina with a gold recovery. You will have not much more after that. So that is the late surger guide. I know it's been incredibly long. I just looked at the time. It went a lot longer than expected. So I guess apologies for that. There's a lot to talk about. I hope I didn't yap too long. Front runners and pace chasers are next. Don't know which one I'm going to do next, but I need to get these out as fast as possible. So I appreciate your patience in all this. Just the last thing to do. Again, I've been calling out my members. Memberships are available. The board tier I do say in the overview video, but I'm going to do it again here. Captain Kiku ZX, Mr. Merit, Crest of Gautier, Immobility, Sorcerer, Oguri Cap Eats a Burger, Lucifel, Mono Sudaru, Snow Crystals, Hugh, Thundercluck Not Real, Sage, and Peter Van San. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everyone for watching. I was not expecting this to be 53 minutes, but I guess I will upload this because I don't want to do it again. But I hope this was clear and concise, at least at points. There was just a lot to talk about. This is the Oshi Cup. Do try to run your Oshi. This is one of the ones that you can do to fight against Christmas Oguri. Christmas Oguri is quite powerful. She's not the be-all, end-all, this CM. Okay? So everyone has a chance. Go and build the characters that you enjoy, even in their natural positions. If it's late surger, if it's end closer, if it's pace chaser, if it's front runner, they all have a chance. So thank you all for watching. Take care, everyone. I'll try to get the next two out pretty quickly. Burb out.